lost in the library somewhere.
My battery's almost dead on my phone. Crud.
Oh. I mean, if you had the cable, I could just plug it in. Or that, too. Just charge it this way.
All right, friends. You are now live.
All right. So,
right.
Hey. Welcome to Talking Tech. So my name is Shawn. I'm the Emerging Services and Technologies Librarian here at Madison Public Library. And with me as always...
I am Charlie. I'm the Guiding Ohio Online Learning Coach here at the Public Library.
And so this is an Ask Me Anything, Ask Us Anything, since they always call it Ask Me Anything. And so feel free to use the chat to ask us questions, and we'll do our best to answer whatever you have burning questions about. Otherwise, we're going to talk about news articles that we find interesting, and kind of go from there. And so, you want to go ahead and you start? I'm going to go ahead and do a couple things on my phone real quick here.
I'm gonna get the not necessarily easy one, but it's just the pronunciation one.
Yeah, that's a hard pronunciation. I totally agree.
I'm just gonna do a real quick butcher warning here. Peugeot, I think that's how you say it.
We're guessing.
The car company over in France is making a brand new Le Mans, however you say it. Again, another butcher warning. They're making a prototype race car to compete with Toyota, and I think there's one other brand that does the whole prototype racing thing. They're going to be in the mix for the prototype stuff, and it's a very futuristic looking car, I will say. I mean, the article even says it looks like it came out of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, looking at the picture on your screen, we got to eventually figure out how to. Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I could turn it around.
Turn it around.
I don't know how well it's going to show.
It actually shows pretty good, I think, depending on how well you're zoomed.
Yeah, how well you're zoomed.
How well you're zoomed.
I'm going up. I need to go down. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, we have technology to like hook up and stream things, and the two technology guys are like, we forgot to do that.
Yeah, we're just also, just kind of lazy. We kind of started already. I don't think.
Well, we hadn't thought through this. As many good things go, we have not fully thought through this.
Yes.
Like any good technology people.
Is this when your producer says I'm not responsible for your behavior?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's pretty awesome. So I think I'll do one, and we can kind of bounce back and forth. Yeah. So there's this company called Ship, like ship on the water, Bob, like the name Bob, Ship Bob, and they caught my attention because nobody knows who they are, but actually a lot of us have all used them at some point. So they're a logistics company. So think about like the Amazon warehouse, except they do this for companies other than Amazon. And they establish these warehouses all over the U.S. and all over the world. And your company partners with them to then do all the logistics as far as like someone orders 20 widgets from your company.
Okay. They
have the widgets in their warehouses spread out across the world, and then they ship them and make sure they get in 2 days to wherever. And that's totally what this company does. They don't make anything. All they do is buy out retail space. So like right now, the housing market is interesting. It's a busy housing market. A little crazy, but the retail investment market has been a little weird because a lot of the mainstay companies like Sears and places like that have gone out of business. Ship Bob is buying these different places, like the Sears warehouse or the Kmart warehouse that used to be in a town, and then they bring in their employees, and they revitalize these whole warehouses, and out of nowhere now they're shipping stuff all over the country. So they've been buying warehouses left and right, and what's kind of interesting is they're decentralized, so their employees can work from wherever. And so if they have like a satellite employee, they literally can establish a warehouse, and all of a sudden they've got a new shipping location. It's kind of brilliant. So it's like Uber meets Amazon meets a couple of different things all at once. It's a really cool idea, and it's funny. I didn't know they existed until I was doing a little bit of research.
Yeah.
And this company kept coming up as, there's who they handle logistics for this computer manufacturer and this and that. The people who don't necessarily work with Amazon. Not that there's anything wrong with Amazon, but that they don't work with them. So what's another story you have? And feel free to ask us questions, by the way.
All right. So going back to the topic of cars, Dodge the American manufacturer Dodge, is planning on making electric EV cars.
Okay.
By 2024.
Okay.
Or we'll make one by 2024.
Okay. Everybody's in the electric car market. Yeah.
Yeah. Which it's just odd seeing Dodge, this huge, horsepower driven.
Well, you said it's a muscle car, though, right?
It's supposed to be a muscle car.
So it's going to be, and that's the neat thing about electric vehicles, is with any electric motor, is the 0 to 60 is
torque,
insane amount of torque. Yeah.
Typical engine torque, I would say, is about here. Electric EV torque is like
here,
all the way.
We're both off the screen.
Out there, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just all the way around.
Well, it's like when I'm using an electric chainsaw versus a gasoline chainsaw. The gasoline chainsaw will stall out if I get stuck. The electric chainsaw just wants to keep going.
It keeps going.
So I think a muscle car would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think because my dad was into muscle cars, and we have a couple of classic cars. I think the thing that a lot of muscle car people are into is the sound.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do with this silent vehicle.
They could just do like Tesla does, and
Tesla had to add that in.
Tesla was horns. You could just do whatever you wanted with horns. I'm wondering if Dodge is going to try to do like just fake engine noise.
Fake engine,
something like
that.
Yeah. That's what
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I think this is like when because my dad used to ride a motorcycle, and he described when there was a lot of American and British made motorcycles, and then when the Japanese motorcycles came in, and it was like an amazing difference in speed. It's a totally different setup as far as how you ride the bike. Because my dad was like this kind of bike where everybody's on those ones where you kind of like almost hug the bike. And, he said, you went from like he had a Norton Commando, which is a British bike, and it was super fast. I mean, really fast. He would like blow people away on the drag strip because he used to drag race with them. And then till the first Japanese bike, and I don't know if it was a Honda or a Toyota or Suzuki or whatever came out, and when that guy raced him with one of those things, he said it was like night and day. Yeah. I mean, Dad's like back here, and that guy's like gone. Yeah. I mean, it's the same difference. I mean, it's gonna be fascinating to watch, these cars come out, because I mean they are incredibly fast. And Dodge and Chrysler have had interesting designs. If you think about like the Roadrunner from the 70s, that had that giant wing on the back. Yeah. Or like some of the Dodge Stealths and some of those prototype kind of Dodges that actually sort of went into production for a little while. Or even like the Charger and the Challenger and stuff like they have out now. Interesting designs. And also they're still a family-ish car. Yeah. There's still a back seat. Yeah. It's not like a McLaren where you're in there and that's all that's going on.
Well, I mean, there is the Viper. But that got discontinued.
Yeah, I got to ride in one once. Yeah. It was kind of cool. It was a neat car, but I was not built for that car. I'm a little big, a little big for it.
A little big. It's meant for tiny people.
Yeah, it's really meant for a person that's not all that tall and not all that big.
Yeah.
So, but it was a neat ride. It was cool. Yeah. So what else you got?
Let's see. Well, let's go to far side of racing things. Let's go to clocks.
Right? Okay. Well, clocks are important in racing. Yeah.
I'm going to do a butcher warning again. Tag Heuer, so like huge timer watch company.
Yeah.
Is doing a Super Mario themed smartwatch.
Okay, I'm interested because I'm a gamer. I'm down with that.
Yes. Though for the wallet, probably not that great.
I'm not going to be there, huh?
Yeah, let's just say $2,100.
Yeah, that's not in my budget range right now for a smartwatch, huh?
Yeah.
It better come with some coins from Mario for me.
I mean, for what I can tell, the interface is like completely Mario. So, which is kind of cool.
Well, that's cool. I mean, these kitschy kind of gamey things. Yeah, I'm kind of checking what's going on with Facebook here, so I'm kind of reaching over and grabbing my phone to kind of watch what's going on. So let's see. I saw Margaret was on, and Josh was on, and Wendy was on. So hi, Wendy. Hey, Margaret. Hey, Josh.
Hello.
Say hi everybody.
Hello, I have a microphone now, Wendy.
Yes, so Melanie has a microphone so you can hear her. So if anybody has any questions or anything, or also feel free to share this link out so that more folks can see what we're doing. Because if you share it on your page, you don't actually have to be watching it the whole time. You can be doing whatever, and you've now shared it and helped us out. So that always helps. Share as much as you can. There's a hi from Margaret. Yay! So,
actually, I just read it a little bit too.
What else do you read on that watch?
They're using Google Wear OS.
Okay, that's what mine is.
Yeah,
that's what I use on mine.
But it's a
custom
tag version.
I always like it. So like a tag version or whatever is like, they've customized it and tweaked it and
yeah,
sometimes funny. Sometimes not stable. I've noticed when someone.
I got so excited I clicked on the wrong thing and
okay.
made it go away.
All right, there we are. So I think we're still streaming. We just shrunk down on you.
They probably didn't see anything.
No one saw anything.
I think I'm gonna.
It's all the screens in the background. Ignore
right.
the lady behind the screen. For Wizard of Oz folks.
Do.
Yeah. So again, if you have any questions, so that's cool. That's a tag watch. I'm a fan of the Wear OS. I like it. I'm an Android person.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have an Android phone, so it kind of was logical to get a Android watch to go with it.
Something along the lines of that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying iPhones and iWatches are bad. They're just not my thing.
Yeah. Well, how many are there now? There's Google Wear OS. There's Samsung.
Yeah.
Wear
Samsung
OS, and then there's Apple.
Yeah.
Fitbit's version of OS.
Yeah, and everybody, but even Apple, they're all kind of built on top of the similar platform. The other three that you had mentioned, Samsung and Fitbit, all kind of base their stuff on top of Google anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's the Android code that they've gone with.
It's just their own kind of thing. Like I just ordered another smartwatch that probably no one's even heard of.
My Garmin's sort of smart.
Yeah,
well, Garmin's nice. Yeah,
Garmin's are nice. What'd you end up again?
It was Carbonix something. I don't.
Okay, literally, I have not heard of that.
Yeah, exactly. I found it, and I was like, okay, I'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
And it has some odd OS on it, but I was like, yeah, I'll try it, see how it goes.
So I purposely got the one I wear because it helps me monitor my heart rate and stuff that I need to keep track of.
Stuff like that is just. That one, those kinds of ones are just expensive.
Yeah, well,
Let's just say that
this was a big deal kind of present for me. So yeah,
that makes sense.
It wasn't something I just bought on a whim. Don't have that kind of income.
Yeah.
Did we have a question come in?
Currently we're talking about how awesome my microphone is.
Oh, good. So you guys just talk in the back there. It's kind of like when I used to teach class. Okay, kids in the back, are you paying attention? No. So literally breaking news. So some things with net neutrality have changed again. So net neutrality, to kind of summarize it because it's a big concept, is basically the rules from the FCC is that ISPs, so internet service providers, must provide equal access to all the internet sites and services. And so, okay, what the heck does that mean? Let's just say you're subscribed to Comcast. Comcast owns some TV stuff and whatever, but they have competitors.
Yeah.
Comcast in the past has been called out on this, that they have purposely slowed down the competitors' sites. So say you were using Netflix, which is not a Comcast thing. They slowed down Netflix on Comcast internet networks.
It was basically just like throttling.
Throttling, yeah. So throttling is the term we use for slowing down, yeah. So that's your $5 word for the day, guys. You'll probably get another one. So net neutrality. So this just went back into place. So basically, ISPs are no longer able to selectively throttle or outright block access to online services and websites like Comcast was discovered in 2007. They cannot play favorites either, because at one point, some of the networks were making deals where, like, if Netflix paid them, they made Netflix run better. But if Hulu or Amazon didn't pay them, they didn't necessarily make them run any better. So they didn't slow them down, but they didn't give them any distinct advantages. Now you could say, oh, well, that's throttling competition, whatever. But when it's your only access, when it's your only access, like some folks up here have Spectrum, and then Windstream?
Spectrum and Windstream.
Those are your two choices. Where I live, I only have one choice, or satellite.
Yeah.
And so if my company decided to throttle something, it would directly hurt me, and I have no way to get around that. There's no competition. There's no way for me to just go to the competition, because satellite is way too slow where I'm at. Though we'll talk about later that the satellite may be picking back up again. So this net neutrality is actually pretty good for us as consumers overall. Because as these internet companies are also TV companies, are also streaming companies, are also music companies, are also this, they got their hands like little octopuses. They got their hands in everything,
Like always.
Yep. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat window. We appreciate
I have a
it.
question, but it's not in the chat window.
Okay, what's your question, Miss Melanie?
Okay, so a friend of mine was looking to buy a computer, and it seemed like they were a whole lot more expensive than she thought they should have been. So what's the deal?
COVID.
Yes.
But we should have bought all the computers, right? Because she purposely waited until it seemed like COVID was ending because she thought computers would be expensive because all the kids were doing stuff online.
Well, see, there was that big rush of everyone buying computers for being able to do school at home. So Chromebooks were almost impossible to get for a while. Laptops were impossible to get for a while. Desktops, not as much. Workstations and servers were fine. But actually what happened is, and this is affecting the auto industry, it's affecting a lot of industries, there's just not any chips available. And so you can't build a computer without the parts. And so there was chips that you needed for the motherboards. There was chips you needed for graphics cards, and graphics cards in general have gone nuts.
Yeah, don't get me started on graphics.
Yeah, poor Charlie and Joe here, they've had a rough time trying to get graphics cards for stuff. But what really comes down is graphics cards went nuts because everyone was trying to build these rigs to mine, because you use a graphic card to mine cryptocurrency, so Bitcoin. It's a long and involved, it's almost a whole workshop unto itself. But needless to say, people set up these rigs with like 12 or 15 graphics cards, and all they do is what we call mining Bitcoin or mining cryptocurrency. So it's running a program and it's generating these online currencies. And I mean fractions of it online, like 10,000th after 2 months worth of work or 4 months worth of work. So I mean,
that's why buying multiple will get you better results.
It's economy of scale. Yeah. The more cards you get, so people during COVID, since they were home and some people needed money and out of jobs, they built these giant rigs of graphics cards. So literally, the graphics card market got wiped out, and we don't have any chips and anybody manufacturing to get us back and going.
Especially during the pandemic and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was just all that stuff was kind of dead because there wasn't enough mining going on, so there's always been a shortage.
Yeah. So literally the components to make the chips are backlogged. The chips themselves are backlogged. For example, the Ford truck plant in I think it's Kentucky.
Yes.
Has literally been taking their vehicles and dropping them off at one of the NASCAR speedways because they don't have chips for the electronic keys and other components of the truck. And so they temporarily load enough components to drive the truck to where they're going to store it at, take the components out, and get the next truck and drive it to there. And I have pictures on the internet of just fields and fields of F-150s and F-250s and beautiful, wonderful, brand new trucks that can't be sold because there's no chips to make them run. So the chip shortage is really killing us. I have a friend who works for Freightliner, and they're having trouble getting parts for trucks. And so if you don't have a semi-truck, you can't deliver the stuff, you can't get the chip. I mean, all these supply chains are really disrupted by this. And I think I said a couple of our shows ago that U.S., literally our president did an executive order and said, hey, we're putting some money into U.S. chip manufacturers because we can't wait for these companies overseas to catch up, because some of them are in worse shape than others as far as COVID goes and other pandemic issues and social issues. So the chips are down. The chips are down. I guess I should say it that way. So does that answer your question, Miss Melanie?
Yes. I think it means that my friend needs to wait a little bit longer because she doesn't want to spend a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was pricing out stuff for some of our replacements here at the library, and it was like a 200% difference. I mean, it's like buying lumber right now. It's a 300% difference in cost from pre-COVID times. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing going on.
Yeah. If there's any questions from the audience, feel free to put them in the chat. We appreciate it. And you can always feel free to email us too at the library. So that's info@madison-library.info. Convenient. There's an info on each end. So what other stories you got, Charlie?
So I know this has been hitting the news lately. A Super Mario 64 copy. So,
a game.
90s Mario game.
Yep.
Sold at auction for $1.56 million.
So that's like a unopened in the
Yes.
box. So
Unopened,
equivalent of like an
wrapped.
unread comic book or an
Yes.
uncirculated coin. So like a vintage game for Mario 64, which is a cool game. Don't get me wrong. I really like that game.
$1.56 million.
$1.56 million. Could you imagine that? This is that like the Antiques Roadshow thing going on there. Imagine this stuff in your attic and or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
crazy.
the only difference compared to the Antiques Roadshow stuff is that typically most of the Antiques Roadshow stuff is used.
Yeah.
This was bought brand new
And they were used.
kept in a drawer somewhere with nothing else in it, and then was sent to get rated, which on here it's a 9.8, which is right now the highest you can probably go.
Yeah, it would be very hard to get a 10.
It would have to be literally like you just bought it right off the shelf, or you just pulled it out of the box and you sent it to them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but but that's the thing that I have to tell people. Don't think, pulling games out of your attic that you used to play as a kid is going to get you gold.
No.
Yes, the market for that stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be getting $1.6 million for it.
No, not unless you have one of those obscure, really odd ones. Yeah.
One broken one.
Yeah.
Or, mistake ones.
Nah. Yeah.
No.
So kind of in that same line of stuff. So the honeymoon's kind of over for streaming services. So now that the world is kind of opening back up again, I found this statistic interesting. Americans spent 44% more time in 2020 on streaming services than all the previous years. And it makes sense.
Yeah,
we were all stuck at home. But 44%. So almost half.
Yeah.
More than, and that's amazing. But it was a good year for streamers. It was a good year for streamers. Pandemic, good year for streamers. But now it's like, okay, some of these services kind of came out.
Yeah.
And now it's time to really see what they can do.
Figure out who we're gonna say we're picking weeds here.
Yeah.
We're gonna clear out which ones are not supposed to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Anymore.
There are gonna be some streaming services that aren't gonna make it. They're gonna merge or whatever. So I pulled some numbers. So Netflix right now has 208 million paying subscribers. I like how it says paying subscribers.
Yeah.
Because some people borrow Netflix. Don't do that at home, by the way. Amazon Prime is 1.7 million viewers because there's more people who have Prime that actually use the Prime Video that they've paid for, which is fascinating. So 175 million. Sorry, 175 million. Disney, which is one of the new kids on the block. 103 million subscribers, so they've done very well.
Yeah.
HBO Max, 63 million. Hulu, 41 million. Hulu's one of the OGs.
Yeah.
They've been around forever. And Discovery Plus, who is very new, and based on the number of commercials I see for Discovery Plus, I'd expect it to be higher.
Yeah.
It's only 13 million.
Well, it's kind of the same thing with which can I see the list?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
Well, HBO Max kind of just tossed out of the gate, 2-3 months or 4 or 5 months ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. But I think it's just because of the gimmicks that some of them have.
Yeah.
Like Hulu, I can understand because sadly you're paying for ads.
Well, it depends. There's
certain
different versions of Hulu.
Yeah.
But
like the base one, you pay to get ads on top of the shows that you're already trying to watch that you're trying to get away from watching ads.
Yes.
Which, that's fine. But HBO Max has the premier
Yeah,
thing,
I think they were smart, because we were talking about this in the office before we came on.
Yeah.
I really think they're smart because, HBO, who owns the rights to most of the DC stuff, I just saw a comment. I had to giggle. Sorry. One of our listeners had to have someone explain what OG meant. We're learning. We're teaching new words. Woo! So I lost my track. Okay. So HBO. So like when Wonder Woman, 1984, they released it they didn't release it in theaters for that one, but they released it at the same time. They're doing a release on HBO as they are in the theater.
Yeah.
And Disney is doing that too, but we were talking, HBO does it different than Disney.
HBO has, basically as a membership to HBO, you have Prime, like you can watch the movie for free when the day it comes out, no issues whatsoever. Disney Plus, on the other hand, is you pay
the equivalent of going to the theater.
Yeah, so you pay an extra $30 just to watch a new released movie, or you wait until it actually officially releases onto Disney Plus.
Yeah. So the $30, I haven't been quite sure of what I want to do with that. So
Yeah. So mainly I skip over the newer stuff unless it's actually said by, there's no premiere.
For those premiere who don't have people in their homes, what is OG?
Original generation. Or
I don't know.
Original gangster.
Oh.
So original generation, original gangster. OG most time is original gangster, but I also like original generation, which is a common use of it too. So talking a little bit about Disney, I have found it interesting that Disney has pulled in a lot of Emmys for their flagship shows.
Yes.
So The Mandalorian had like 24, I think
something
it's Emmys,
like
primetime or daytime Emmys or whatever. Yeah. And some of their Marvel stuff, WandaVision,
Loki. No, Loki hasn't done
anything, but Captain America.
Get something?
All right, they had Hamilton because they were the ones who hosted Hamilton. So we're seeing this giant shift though, because it used to be all these Emmys and stuff were. Your ABC, your CBS, your regular, your networks.
Like the cable networks and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's kind of going to the streaming services because I feel like there's really not... I mean, you don't really have to time constrict yourself on the streaming services.
Yeah, it's so what we call that is time shifting.
Yeah.
So you can watch something later. That's the concept of time shifting came out when the very first DVRs came out. Is you could shift, you could come back and watch it later. Actually, technically, time shifting started with VCRs, where and I'll go out there. My cousin, his mom liked certain soap operas, but she worked, and so his job in life was to make sure that the VCR went on because I could never get the timer to work.
Yeah.
The VCR went on so that her, as we call them, stories were taped, so that when she came home from work, she could watch them. Yeah. But it's gonna be interesting to see where the streaming services kind of wash out at.
Yeah.
Hulu's kind of always that weird one because it's owned by a bunch of different companies, and so right now the majority ownership is Disney because they bought Fox, they got the majority of Hulu.
Well, also if you have a subscription to Disney Plus, you can also bundle it with
Hulu and ESPN, which they also own ESPN too.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Because it was cheaper.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
You got three
for
compared
one.
to the one. Yeah,
exactly.
What is it like? Isn't it like $7 for a month of Disney Plus or something like
something like that? I don't know. I pay yearly.
You pay $13 for 3, and Hulu is already like what, 7?
Yep.
Okay, there was a comment that the girls just went to the movies and it was $9 plus $2 convenience fee, so we bought Disney Plus Premium for Black Widow because it was cheaper.
Yeah, I haven't seen Black Widow yet, so no spoilers.
Yes,
I'm behind. Don't. I'm behind so badly. So I'll pick on Wendy because I know Wendy has 3 children, 3 girls, and so so 3 times 9, 18 or 27, 18, 27.
See,
boy, am I not mathing today. I pointed to you. I was hoping.
Like I said, tech guys either 1 don't know the English language.
I don't know the English language.
Or 2 we don't know math.
Yeah.
But you need to know math.
So 27 plus $6. That's
31.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The disembodied voice off the screen. Thank you. I can do high order math. I can do like calculus, but I have trouble adding.
I think you make it to a high to where you can't go back low.
Yeah, it is. Once you get to a certain level of calculus, you just can't go back. It just doesn't work. Your brain stops working. You burnt out what's left of the good part of your brain. So what's your next one there?
Let's do OnePlus. So the phone company, everyone knows them for having like decent, has been found to be speed throttling. So it's similar to what Apple's been doing, except this one is for power consumption for apps.
Okay.
So it's throttling the performance of certain apps for battery performance. So it's to keep the battery performing at its best. But at the same time, people don't like that. Mm-hmm. People will want the app to run.
I want control of my phone.
Yes.
If I'm making the decision to burn all of my battery, I want to burn all my battery. And thank you, Margaret, for helping us with the math. It's really hard to do math on camera. I think that's also the other thing. Your brain gets melted when you're on camera, and you get a little self-conscious of it all. The app throttle. I don't want some company to tell me. I really don't like that. I turn some of that stuff off on my phone on purpose. Careful, Melanie. The live thing got interrupted, so be careful as you're clicking around. Okay.
Okay.
I don't like that app throttling. I don't want someone to mess with my thing. If I want to use an app and use all my battery, I want to use all my battery. Same thing as I want all my data. If I get my data,
that was OnePlus's excuse for throttling. Mm-hmm. It was an attempt to save battery life. And then an earlier statement where the company argued sounds downright reasonable. In recent years, the performance of smartphones SoCs have reached a point to where their power is often overkill in certain scenarios, and blaming Qualcomm for essentially being too good at its job.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
That kind of thing, yeah. For anymore, it's just they'll do whatever they want to.
So, let's jump on to another story here. You and I have been sitting on this one.
Yes.
We talked about it a little bit the last time. Windows 11.
Yay.
Yay.
I can't say much. I say yay sarcastically because I have the beta version.
I was going to say, you're running the test version on your laptop right now.
Which
so
I probably should
It hasn't caught on fire yet.
Not yet.
It hasn't caught on fire yet. It hasn't exploded. Something about using a calculator. Yeah, I could have used my phone, but I got it plugged in over here because I'm watching the stream.
I could have pulled mine, but in the moment you just kind of forget what's around you.
So Windows 11. So Windows 11 is on its way out. Some of the early versions are going to be out sometime in October. The one thing that is kind of going to be kind of a problem with Windows 11 is you have to have this thing called the TPM chip, the Trusted Platform Module, which is a way to add security to laptops and desktops. Interestingly enough, yet again, another chip, and it has to be the TPM 2.0. So there's a way to test for this. Windows checks for it, whatever, so it won't let you load without it. But you can buy chips to plug into your certain devices.
Well, as long as the board supports it.
As long as the board supports it, you can switch it up, which is fine and dandy.
Which, again,
except
we have to kind of explain the whole motherboard thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like adding another chip to your board. It would be like similar to adding RAM. There's one already on most of your boards if you have a new enough PC.
Well,
but if you don't have a new enough PC,
a lot of them are built into most processors now.
Yeah.
And then they just have the board work around it. But if you have an older PC with a older chip in it, that's where the TPM plugins come in.
Yeah. So basically, Windows 11 is going to force a big hardware change again because chips aren't available. Folks don't want to mess with the inside of a board. Folks don't want to switch out processors. And so it's kind of a forced obsolescence to say, okay, if you want to go to Windows 11, you need to have this. And there are reasons for the TPM chip. There really are. It's important to have this in. It's starting to make things much secure, and a lot of viruses and stuff are getting stopped by it, just flat out stopped by the 1.0 and the 1.5 chips. So it's important, but means that you just can't get a new laptop or you can't just load it on your laptop. You have to get a new laptop.
So that means like a lot of your more budget-oriented laptops are going to start going away.
Yeah, so budgets is a good description.
The $200 laptops you can go straight out buy at Walmart.
Yeah.
You won't be able to get those anymore.
You won't,
because they won't be able to run.
Well, you'll be able to get them, but you'll be able to get Windows 11.
Windows 11 on it, which Windows 10, yes, will last until 2024, I think it's
2024, yeah.
Yeah. So end of service will be 2024. But at the same time, you can't just go, now especially is the time to, start to figure out, what is the requirements.
Now, if you're going to buy now, just keep your eyes peeled for what type of TPM chip, and they're going to start listing it, and you're looking for a TPM 2.0. So this is the geekiest thing we've said for a long time. You need a TPM 2.0. Man, is that geeky and nerdy.
Yeah. But I keep thinking it's like toilet paper manager or something like that.
Well, it makes me think of Office Space with the TPS reports. If you haven't watched Office Space, please watch Office Space. It explains my life in great detail some days. So the other thing that they announced is Windows 365.
Okay, I've heard of that.
So there's Office 365. So there's Office 365.
Yeah.
And that's your Office productivity, but it's cloud based. So technically, there's some stuff on your computer, but really it all lives out in a server somewhere else. Well, Windows 365 is going to be the same. So your computer is going to connect to a server somewhere, and then your desktop is going to live there. Your computer is going to live there.
Yeah.
So it'll be a subscription service. So it allows you to basically have an inexpensive PC that connects to the internet. Kind of sounds like a Chromebook.
It kind of sounds
because that's how Chromebooks work.
It sounds like you could just buy a Chromebook, put 365 on it.
Well, that's the interesting thing is 365 will work on Chromebooks, MacBooks, and PCs.
Well, I knew Macs would have to be there because they have all their Office products on Mac too.
Yeah.
And there's a big, huge Mac fan base for Windows, at least.
Yeah.
Productivity stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, I realize this is dumb, but I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it all lives in the cloud, then how can you use your device when you're not connected to the internet? Like if you were working on an airplane, you can't be connected to the internet. So what good is your computer?
The thing is now is that a lot of airlines have started adding Wi-Fi and internet to flights and stuff.
You're gonna have to pay for it.
It's the cellular connection that they don't want you to use.
Yeah, they don't want you to cell connection, but they'll let you use their Wi-Fi and pay for it. Same thing with a hotel or a bus. There are some things in place to allow you to kind of run and then connect up and upload. It's been around for a long time. I mean, we've used it with Adobe Air and things like that, which kind of takes things from the internet and puts it offline. But basically, what's kind of happening is, we're going back to dumb terminals and mainframes. Mm-hmm. A dumb terminal literally was just back in the 70s and 80s was your keyboard, your mouse, and your screen. And really everything happened. Your account, everything happened on the mainframe or the mini computer. If anybody ever worked in a bank, you probably worked in a mini computer at some point. And literally you sat with a terminal and really all the processing your account, everything lived on a server somewhere in the back room or in another state.
Okay, you have a question. What does this do to everyone's modems, or am I not understanding the subscription thing?
Okay, so just like you use any other kind of online service like email or like Google Sheets or Google Docs or anything like that, your entire PC really lives out on the internet. So everything that's on your desktop, your programs, all that really lives in a space somewhere else on the internet. It does not live on the laptop in front of you. The laptop in front of you provides you a keyboard, a mouse, and a screen. And a connection to the internet. And that's really it. And so 365 allows you to have thinner...
Platform as a service.
Platform as a service, correct. So really, you're going to use a lot more internet because some of these programs are pretty hefty. And it's also going to define what programs you can run because now you're running under a server somewhere owned by Microsoft. Now,
which I know some people have some.
Yeah. That's why I paused for a second there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, on the flip side, you may have darn near infinite storage or as much infinite storage as you're willing to pay for. You may not have to wonder about viruses ever again. because Microsoft takes care of that because they're hosting your instance of the computer. So really, you would be then they would be handling everything. And from the experience of doing Office 365, is what we use here for staff. Overall, it's a very, very good service that they've offered with that. There's some hiccups and some things I don't like, but overall, it's a tank and it runs, so I can't complain. So, do we look at, thinning out our PCs over the next couple of years? I mean, I'm not going to be there. I'm not an early adopter on some of this stuff. My running joke is I used to wait 6 months before a big update with Windows. Now with security things, I got to do it a lot quicker, but I used to wait and let everybody else break their networks. For 6 months until Microsoft figured out all the kinks and bugs.
What it actually did.
Yeah, and then I'd come back in and then do my stuff.
Nowadays, it's like
you can't.
You have to do the new update or nothing works.
Yeah. That's why some of our printers hate me right now.
Yeah, which I mean, we could talk about the printer nightmare.
No, we don't want to talk about the printer nightmare.
Okay, I still have another question though.
Yeah.
So isn't that going to broaden the digital divide if you're having to have higher internet access when they're already talking about places that don't have good internet
Absolutely.
access?
So that's why they're still releasing Windows 11. So you're still going to have access to a PC, and there's going to be people like me who probably will not do Windows 365 because what I do on a daily basis probably will not run in that environment. Some of the development stuff that I do, some of the other programs, if you're a heavy-duty gamer, probably won't work for you. So there will be plenty of people with laptops. I'm not saying that's the end of all PCs and laptops as we know it. I'm saying there's going to be an alternative for those who don't want to deal with 90% of what goes on with a computer.
Well, and then I'm thinking maybe this is where Windows 365 will be for like the super low-end laptops, like I was talking about, like the bargain.
Entry. I like to say entry level versus low end.
As what I would do for
I know.
people, that's usually what I usually called it.
Yeah, you call them low end. I call them entry level. It's potato. So it's your entry level. It's your beginning laptop. It's a good laptop for the younger kids in your family to get started. It's a good laptop for maybe some folks who just don't want to deal with all of the things that go on with a PC. They just want to get on the internet. They just want to get on their email. They just want to do a little word processing. Print will be fun. By the way, we've been doing this technology where you've remoted in for probably since the early 90s, because it was called terminal server originally. So you could have it set up so that your desktop technically lived on a beefy server somewhere, and it followed you wherever you went in the organization. So this is not like new. They're just it's new to customers. So what else you got?
They finally threw it out for public.
The everyday people. The everyday people. Not office people. Or techie people.
We have used it for.
Yeah, I've been remoting in computers half of my life, working on a computer somewhere else in the country or in the world, and not in front of me. I think I spend more time working on something that's like a million miles away than it is in front of me.
All right, so back to the smartphone type of thing.
Yeah.
Qualcomm and Asus.
Okay, Asus gaming PCs and stuff.
Well, gaming PCs, smartphones, tablets, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Have paired together to make a Qualcomm-specific phone. And
Qualcomm's been making processors for phones. Most of your phones have a Qualcomm processor in them.
Well, most all.
Except for iPhones.
Yeah, iPhones have the M.
Whatever their chip thing is.
Whatever their chip is called. But they are specifically putting every single thing of Qualcomm's newest technology into this phone. And if you have seen some of Asus's newer phones, which is like the Asus, I can't remember what their new gaming phone is called, because they have to put gaming on it for people to get interested. Gaming phone. The ROG
Nokia
phone,
or someone Engage did that. That was a horrible phone.
But it's basically that. But with a Qualcomm sticker slapped on top of it.
Woohoo!
So that's all it is. It's literally all it is. But it's boasting the quick charge, all that kind of stuff. Which okay, cool. Quick charge, the newest processor, all that crazy stuff. Obviously Samsung OLED panel, which you find in most every smartphone anymore. But that's supposed to be, Qualcomm's flagship phone, but it's slapped with a Asus sticker on it.
Yeah, it's $1,500.
Yeah, $1,500. So similar. So like, you could buy the smartwatch. Mm-hmm. You can buy the Qualcomm phone. Bam, you have $3,000.
Yeah.
You're down $3,000.
Yeah. My. So, okay. Speaking of cell phones and whatever, as we have opened up more spectrums and we've more internet connected devices, more smartphones out, it's actually starting to affect building Wi-Fi and home Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Because the Wi-Fi is what's called an unregulated spectrum. So the 5-point and the 2-point spectrums that we use, that's why sometimes microwaves mess with people's Wi-Fi, or like if you had older wireless landlines, it affected with Wi-Fi. So yeah, we're starting to overlap those spectrums a little bit. And so we're finding that more and more concentration of cell phones are taking down Wi-Fi networks or causing great grief. Mm-hmm. So at some point, the FCC and some of the manufacturers are going to have to do something about this because, in the grand scheme of things, we cannot live without cell, we cannot live without Wi-Fi. So they've got to find some way for them to play well together. So this is all a lot of it's radio talk, and so if there's ever a radio, someone who knows radio out there, I'd love to talk to you about some of this stuff because I've always found it fascinating, and some radio people know more than I do. But yeah, I mean, it's starting to overlap. So the concentration, I can even watch it here when I'm looking at the stats for our wireless. The sheer number of devices that come in with a person. Yeah. And I can't identify individual people. Don't freak out like that. But like I can see, like after school, it's a laptop, it's a cell phone, it's a tablet that have all walked into the building and asked for a network connection. Yeah. I'm not saying I can't see whose, but I know that those types of devices are connecting. And now multiply that by 15, 20 people. That's a lot of stuff. And then talk that they're doing the Wi-Fi and the cell at the same time because you can't do certain things with, you have to send certain messages only over cell. So, yeah, it's starting to get very kind of claustrophobic.
Speaking about networks and wireless and Wi-Fi specifically.
Yeah, this one, I love this one. This is a good story.
So researchers have found that certain network names can disable Wi-Fi on iPhones. So iPhone users out there, beware. You may or may not have to watch out for what certain networks are named. Let's see if I can actually read off one of the...
You want to read off one of them? Make sure it's PC, if it's not... Yeah.
So it's like a public Wi-Fi. So a company that purposely tries to break things.
Yes.
Went out and just
penetration testers. Yes.
They were just kind of playing around with Wi-Fi SSID names and all that kind of.
So the names you connect to when you connect to the Wi-Fi.
And they named it %, secret club, all lowercase, %, power. And it would reset network settings on iPhones. But more or less, it would mainly brick the entire Wi-Fi connector or the transponder on it.
So when we say brick, means that it's no longer functional.
Yes.
It might as well be a brick. And so if you ever hear a tech person say, "I bricked it" or "something's been bricked," it pretty much means it's now a doorstop.
Yeah.
So
or a paperweight.
Or since we're near Lake Erie, a boat anchor is I always say boat anchor.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Yeah,
they're reverse engineers.
Yeah. So in theory, if you connect to a bad network, a bad Wi-Fi network, you could end up destroying your phone. And by the way, connecting to random networks has always been a bad thing anyway. Being someone who does penetration testing occasionally, I've set up rogue networks and watched people connect to them. I'm like, why are you connecting to this? I haven't labeled one like "do not connect," and someone connected to it. I'm like, how can you? I purposely called it "do not connect."
The thing of irony.
I know there's so much irony.
It's just my phone is named FBI phone.
Your name is FBI phone.
Literally, that's what I named my phone. Because you can name it anything you want.
Yeah, my favorite was my Wi-Fi network for a while was Pretty Fly for a Wi-Fi.
So, but like at the same time, there's so much irony out there. Like,
Yeah.
I even went out to Cleveland and stuff, and they had names that were just so odd and weird.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't expect anyone to connect to them, but
Yeah,
guaranteed
people do.
Someone will.
People do. People try to connect all the time.
You know, compared to saying like you're actually trying to connect to.
Yeah, like ours says Madison Public Library.
Yes.
If you see Madison Public Library and you're in our building, that's okay to connect.
And slightly outside the building as well.
Well, yeah, we actually, because we have external Wi-Fi points, you can get pretty far into the yard and over towards the schools and stuff where you can still get our Wi-Fi.
If you're 10 miles away,
I'm not that good.
See Madison Public Library anywhere.
Not that good. Not that good. Speaking of 10 miles away Wi-Fi, so Amazon's been working on this because everybody's going into space right now between Jeff Bezos and Sir Richard Branson, who just did get into space with his Virgin Galactic space. He flew it himself, so that's very like Howard Hughesy, where he kind of did it himself. But yeah, he flew the thing up there and got into space. Now, when they say in space, though, they just got out of the atmosphere and then came back down again. I mean, we're not. He didn't like pass the moon and come back.
We're only talking about like a what was it? Who was it? The one that just went out? Is it John Glenn?
Yeah.
Yeah, John Glenn space travel.
Yeah, he was. And I mean, I'm not knocking John Glenn because that was spectacular. No. But like, yeah. He didn't go like around the moon or like hit Jupiter or whatever.
Apollo mission.
Apollo missions to the moon. Yeah. Dude just got out of the atmosphere, but still, again.
Still
pretty
impressive.
Awesome. Pretty
Still
awesome.
Very impressive.
And Jeff Bezos is the next one to do it, so the Amazon guys. So I do find this whole thing where it's millionaires doing the space race again, because for a while it was the United States and was against the Soviet Union, it was against Russia, and that competition drove us back and forth. And then kind of as the Cold War kind of fell out and for a while it was us against China and us against, as competition to get up. But for the most part, most of the governments are like, we don't have the money to do this. But Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos, they got a lot of money. And so, and Elon Musk. Yeah. So all these people, all these multi-billionaires, trillionaires or whatever.
Elon Musk literally he shot his first production, the super Tesla.
He shot Tesla into space,
and then it just came back.
I mean, that's like just like showing up and burning money in front of people. That's just that's pretty hard flexing there. So we have this private space race, and I know some people are concerned about it, that it isn't a government thing, but there's part of me who kind of likes the competition concept. Yeah. Is can these billionaires push us where we've been kind of stuck for a while? We haven't, we had those disasters with our own space shuttle and people lost their lives and we kind of shut down. And I'm not belittling astronauts. We have so many from Ohio, and they're spectacular people. I've gotten to meet one in my life and it was pretty awesome. But we stopped. We didn't move. We weren't going anywhere. It's stagnant. Because why haven't we gone to the moon again? Why haven't we gone to Mars? And the government's kind of sitting there, and so these private investors are going, hey, we can make money by letting people go out of the atmosphere and come back down again. So we're going to do that, and moon tourism, and sending people to Mars, because when we did the space race, we ended up with cool products: Teflon, Corian, Velcro, Tang. I like Tang. I'm always going to throw Tang in when there's space involved because I love Tang. Astronaut ice cream, so freeze drying. Yeah. All of that crazy stuff all came out of space race that are now intertwined. I mean, how often have you used Velcro on a daily basis? I mean, my pockets on my pants are Velcro. And I use pair of pants, but in general. So it's kind of interesting to see this. And Amazon isn't just doing we're going to send up space stuff. They're sending up satellites because they want to be able to provide a better form of satellite internet. And Facebook is involved with this too, which it's interesting to see these companies.
So we're talking about Starlink from.
We're talking Starlink, space satellites. So we've always had some sort of internet from space satellites, and it's always been kind of lame, to be honest with you. I've never really found it great. We've used it with bookmobiles and stuff, and it's never been spectacular. It's real hard to game on. It's real hard to do video calls. I mean, the stuff that people do now. Amazon and Facebook and some of these other places are saying, okay, we're taking a fresh look at it, and we're putting up new satellites and our own satellites. And there is a for that digital divide that Melanie had talked about. They're gunning for developing countries. And I mean, it's really hard to put up a bunch of towers or run a lot of electrical lines or network lines. Yeah. Let's just blanket it from space and be able to provide people in a developing country with internet wherever they go. Mm-hmm. It's like having. Have you ever used a sat phone?
No.
Sat phones are cool because you have this phone and you're like, I connect wherever I am as long as I can see the sky. I can connect.
Yeah.
And sat phones are awesome, expensive but awesome. Can you play Pokemon Go in space? Chris asked this question.
Maybe. I don't know, though.
Actually, technically, you can. You can play it on an International Space Station because they have a direct link back down to the Earth.
Yeah.
So, yes, you just can't catch anything, I don't think, because I don't think there's Pokestops. I would love to know if there was a Pokestop at the International Space Station.
I mean,
that would be the nerdiest thing in the world.
That would be...
Which would be appropriate because generally... Yeah. These astronauts are uber nerds in the best possible way.
Would that mean that they're direct link back down when there be all the NASA stuff?
I don't know.
Technically speaking,
because there's GPS because there is GPS in space.
Well, yeah.
Because there are GPS because GPS comes from space. GPS is satellites in space. What we don't have is far GPS. So once we get past our own orbit, GPS ceases to exist because the positioning doesn't exist anymore. So they're actually putting out satellites past the moon for GPS and atomic clocks so that we can synchronize with those for long distance travel. So those are actually being sent out. Nobody talks about that. We're sending out these things similar to Voyager 1 and Voyager 2.
Yeah.
We're sending these satellites out to be GPS instead of global positioning. I guess we'll call them space positioning, so that you know what the atomic clock is and where you are. So literally you could say, hey, I'm on the moon. And they were like, yes, you're on the moon.
Very cool.
Would you like to make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn? But yeah, they're sending these things out. NASA perfected this pretty cool atomic clock because we need time synchronization for everything to work.
Yeah.
We need to set a clock and say, this is the time. Computers run on atomic clocks. Everything runs on atomic clocks. And so literally they're shooting out satellites with these atomic clocks that are the size, I think, in all honesty, of a small Amazon box.
Okay.
They're tiny, but they're just shooting them out there to go into orbit around places. It's cool. It's cool.
Okay, guys, you are down to your last 5 minutes or so. So either think about wrapping up, doing some commercials, or sharing one last story.
Okay. You want to do some commercials?
You can start with the commercials unless
I'm
the only one.
Well, you're working on a LinkedIn video, right?
Yeah.
So it's now LinkedIn Learning. It used to be called lynda.com. So the lynda.com was bought out by LinkedIn, which is a business social media platform. So it kind of makes sense to put learning in there. Yeah. So you're working on a video to help folks be able to get into those free training videos?
Yes. So basically, we're just gonna go ahead and just we'll just call it library services that we have.
Okay.
So I'm just doing training videos on how everyone can get into these online free services that we get through the library.
Because you've already done...
I've done Freegal. I've done...
Hoopla.
I'm trying to think if there's another one, I thought.
We've done a little bit of Overdrive already, too.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it needs a little bit more.
Slight touch.
So Freegal is free music, right?
Yes.
That you can download and keep on your phone forever. You get them
five downloads
a week. You get to put them on whatever device you want. Hoopla is like Netflix, but for free from the library. There's only a little limitation of how many you can download. And then Libby or Overdrive is our ebook and e-audio platform, so you can actually listen to books from your phone while driving. Much better than trying to read books while driving. That wouldn't end well.
Yeah.
Those nice gentlemen and ladies who drive the highway patrol would be very unhappy with someone reading a book while driving.
Yeah.
So you've got the Lynda. So tell us a little bit about Lynda. What does Lynda do?
Well, Lynda, but
LinkedIn Learning. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call it Lynda.
You're good. So if you ever used a online learning platform before, so I would say like Coursera or I'm trying to think of other ones.
So like video tutorials.
It's just basically video tutorials. So I mean, I guess you could call it YouTube a little bit. I'll do air quotes there.
I just want to see what it looked like on screen.
So like, it's literally nothing but training videos to teach you how to be better at certain things. Like, how do I say? Like, try and learn how to use GIMP or something like that.
So GIMP is a open source video edit or image editing tool similar to Photoshop. I've used LinkedIn Learning. See, I got it. I said it.
You finally did it.
I know. LinkedIn Learning, so that I'd use it for customer service training. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple really good videos on how to handle phone calls with difficult people, or how to end a phone call when someone who wants to talk over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I found those very helpful. I found them for management. I found videos very good for there. I've used a lot of videos on how to help us with our lighting schemes. Some things that I didn't know how to do is set up the multiple point lighting. You can't see it because it's all off the screen, but we have several lights going to keep us well lit, so it's easier to see us, the backdrop behind us. Some of those things I've learned from taking LinkedIn Learning classes.
Our audience was reminding us that you do have a Libby class, correct? Or it was like a...
Well, Libby is Overdrive, so yeah, we did have that.
And also reminding you that we can learn Excel and things of that nature.
Yes, all of the Office products are on there. Some certification things like A+ certification, Networks Plus certification is available on LinkedIn Learning. So it's a nice mix of technical as well as what we call soft skills or business skills, as well as some fun things. I know that Melanie has taken some photography classes on LinkedIn Learning, if I remember correctly, right?
You are correct.
So our disembodied voice has taken photography classes. So I think we had a pretty good show today. So again, thank you all for watching. I much appreciate it. And if you ever need help, we're here available. We do ask that you schedule ahead of time, and we call it a learning coach, and you can call the library and schedule, and generally it'll be with Charley, and you have a one-on-one appointment with Charley, and you come in with a project or a problem, and he will work directly with you for about an hour to 2 hours.
About so, yeah.
And kind of help you solve your problem. And we also sometimes will run into things where we'll have to say, hey, this is something you need to take somewhere else. But for the most part, we're able to solve most things when you bring them in here. So we've helped people migrate phones. We've helped people with laptop issues and virus issues. We've helped people get their emails set up, or Facebook or any kind of social media, or Zoom. We've done that with a couple people. We've helped people with other projects. You can also come in and schedule some time to use any of our Create Space. So if you wanted to learn how to use a Cricut to do vinyl or paper cutting for iron-ons or cards or anything like that, we have a laser so you can engrave into wood or glass or stone, or make rubber stamps or anything like that. We have a vacuum former to make molds for chocolate or soap or packaging. We have button makers to make all types of buttons to wear, magnets. And we have paper cutting machines, we have laminating machines, we have a lot of tools. You can book a time with one of our staff, and we'll be able to sit down and show you the ropes on how to use the machine, or work with you to get your design on the material that you bring us. So there are different charges for that, and we can't really cover that in this video, but call in and say, hey, I want to learn about the Create Space, or hey, I want to book a learning coach. We also do passports and notaries, so don't forget those either. So do we have laminating available? Yes, we absolutely have laminating available. We have cold laminating, so we can actually laminate things with 2 pieces of adhesive that would normally not go through a laminator. So think crayon. If you run crayon through a hot laminator, the typical one where it seals with heat, it melts it. So your crayon drawing from Little Johnny becomes kind of a abstract art. But we also have a wide format, so up to 22 inches laminator for like posters. Or we also have a pocket laminator for like cards, business cards. We'll laminate your vaccine card if you happen to have one of those, if you want to protect it. So any other questions coming in?
I think that was it.
That's it. So again, thank you for joining us this evening, or watching us after the fact. We'll have this up on our YouTube channel as well as on Facebook. So have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your day. Anything you got, Charlie?
I do not have anything else.
All right, so come see Charlie at the library for your learning coach, and we'll go from there. So have a good one. Thank you very much.